Ooh.
Welcome in to the Off-Brand Avalanche podcast. Post Game 4. That was an awful game. If you play hockey, you have to play 3 periods. You can't take the first one off, and that's what the Avs did today. They dug themselves a hole in the series to begin with. They dug themselves a hole in this game. Both times they came back, or tried to come back, and it's not looking good for the series right now. And they lost the game. I mean, just the big thing for me is just the complete lack of anything that they showed in the first period was very frustrating. What did you guys think?
Well, I'm wearing my sunglasses right now to hide the tears from being an Avs fan because that was fucking brutal. Excuse my language, but just the fact that they have they have the push to come back and relatively get back in this game 3-2. Going into the third period, it's like we had a minute and 30 seconds on the power play. The power play looked super good. We were controlling momentum. Very, very, very bad penalty by Tyson Jost, and then an even worse mistake by Kale McCarr, and that ultimately cost us the game right there.
Yeah.
Just stupid plays in this entire series that are just haunting us right now.
Yeah, I gotta agree. To me, one of the themes of the series has just been bad defensive play, and once again, the Stars pile on goals in bunches, and it's just so hard to watch that happen. The Avs just break down like that. That's the Avs of old kind of shit right there, and I thought we were past that. It's really hard to watch that shit happen, honestly.
Yeah, dumb defensive mistakes.
Yeah, just really bad. Z again, honestly, I would not be surprised if these are his last few games in Colorado. Awful game by Z today. Again, it's not the first time. Again, I don't want to be the one pointing fingers here, but it was just brutal to watch.
Yeah,
No,
just
go
defensively
ahead,
as a
Billy.
whole, the Avs were really bad today. The
Mm-hmm.
goaltending, we have to talk about it.
Yes, we do.
Franco's, when he was pulled, he had an 808, and that's after playing a great second period. He was god awful in
So
the
bad.
first. He collapsed in the third, and it was just Pavel Francouz is
Yeah,
a
that
great
first
backup
goal.
goalie.
What do we?
That first goal was just probably the worst goal he could have given up at the time. Honestly, that's what everyone's been talking about all series. Just the bad rebound control, and he lets that one in. And it's just like, buddy, bad first
Yeah,
goal.
that's terrible.
Not only is it a terrible goal, but the Avs really needed the first goal of the game today. They really needed it.
I mean, we've been saying it. We've been saying it that we cannot chase leads against the
Mhm.
Dallas Stars. We just can't. The Dallas Stars, this is what they do best out of anyone in the league, in my opinion, is they're very good at getting the first one or two goals and then holding that lead. And then the Avs did make a valiant effort to come back, but that's just what the Stars just play better hockey when they're up. They will consistently get more chances. As opposed if we get the first goal there, and Francouz makes a couple of big saves for us, and the Avs have more than one shot in the first 18 minutes of the fucking first period,
Absolutely ridiculous.
then maybe that's a different game. Kale McCarr doesn't make a mistake. Francouz plays a little bit better hockey. The
Yeah.
Avalanche actually come out wanting to play in the first period, and just simple freaking mistakes. Tyson Jones doesn't take that penalty. The Avs come away out of this game 4-1, 4-0 game. But nope. The stupid freaking mistakes by the Avs. Francouz can't stop a puck in the first period. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
That is the difference of the game.
And we touch a little bit on the Kale McCarr mistake. It was frustrating to see he mishandled the puck. The Stars score what would end up being the game-winning goal. Realistically, had that not happened, had the Stars only been up one in the last 4 seconds, the Avs probably don't score the fourth one. So I'm not going to say the game was decided by that Kale McCarr mistake, but at the same time,
I'll go
it was
ahead and
big.
say that.
I don't think so. He had a great
Well,
game
because that was
otherwise
goal.
as well.
Nemestikov scored that fourth goal with absolutely zero pressure on him. If the Avs were like
Exactly.
pouring it on in the final 2 minutes, it would have been a totally different story to me.
I don't know.
Yeah, that a one nothing or like a playing with like one behind 1-0 is a lot different than playing
So
behind
is
two
playing
nothing,
up one
Yeah.
especially
nothing.
if you have to. Yeah, well, we
But
weren't
the
playing
Stars
up one
were, and
nothing.
they probably would have pushed a little bit harder or tightened up just a little bit more. And I don't think the goal with 3 seconds goes in if the Stars are holding a 1-goal lead. I think the Cale Makar, yes, it's a frustrating mistake, and yes, it was costly,
I don't
but
know.
I, I would not go as
Right.
far as to say, I wouldn't even come close to saying
I
that's what
would.
cost us the game.
I
I'm not
wouldn't.
saying
I
that
mean,
entirely cost us the game, but I
yeah.
would say that was one of the biggest three mistakes that the Avs have made in the entire
I wouldn't agree
series
with that.
Yeah.
that inevitably
It's a
costed
bad
us a
one,
game.
but
Billy, like, what do you
It's
mean?
the three
Like,
biggest
that's
mistakes.
that's
They've had some
brutal.
pretty big mistakes in this series. And yeah, it was a brutal mistake.
By literally,
And the optics of it look bad when the game finishes 5-4. But no, I don't think that this was a 4-4 game if that mistake doesn't happen. I think the rest of the game plays out much differently.
uh, well, the thing is I absolutely do think that it could be a 4-4 game because of the fact that it's like, dude, you were chasing that game 3-2 in the start of the third period. The Avs had all of the momentum in the world starting that third period, especially on the power play. Tyson Jost, that's another really big mistake, gave up a really stupid penalty. Like, I don't know what the heck he was doing, throwing his freaking stick all around. Another thing is the refs are really bad, but like at the same time, I'm sticking on this Jost tangent. That was really bad. So great, the Stars get one goal, 4-2 to like take a two goal lead. But then a 3-goal deficit like that, Billy, and especially that the Avs are able to score 2 goals after that. We're not talking about just a 1-goal thing. The Avs are like that was a 3-goal deficit after that Makar mistake, and that wasn't just like some mistake in which like he turned it over like at the blue line. He literally threw it out front, gave the Dallas Stars player
Well, he
an
bobbled the puck.
assist.
He
He
didn't
was
pass it to him or anything.
he
But
bobbled.
yeah, it was a massive mistake, and
That
it
was
wasn't.
that was an assist.
It was a. It was
That
a.
was an assist. He bobbled the puck, in which he threw it straight in front. Like, yeah, he bobbled it, but at the same time, I've been talking about this for a long time. Cale Makar needs to work on his like bobbles, dude. You see it the entire and like his entire rookie season. If he wasn't bobbling the puck all over the place, then he maybe would have been like the top 5 defenseman in the entire NHL. But he makes silly mistakes like that in which he loses the puck because of no reason, because of his own stick handling, and that's exactly what happened right there. Everyone's all like, "Oh, great, Cale Makar is the next coming of freaking Bobby Orr," but Bobby Orr doesn't make those mistakes, especially not. I don't care if he's a rookie or not. That was a really bad mistake, and that's something that 5 years down the line, the like as fans are going to be looking over, not his play in the rest of the game. He played a fantastic game other than that one mistake, but due to the fact that he had no pressure behind the fucking net and bobbles it straight to a Dallas Star player right in front. Frankie wasn't expecting that shit. You cannot put that goal on Frankie. That was on Cale Makar, and a 3-0 lead is a lot, or a 3-goal lead is a lot different than a 2-0 or like a
Mhm.
2-goal lead in crunch time, even especially since the Avs were able to come back and score 2 goals after that.
Right. I totally agree with you, Marshall. But a little bit of, defense of Cale Makar here. If we remember back, like, I know you don't want to hear it because you said this. It is his rookie year, and if you look back to McKinnon in his first couple years, his feet were moving way faster than his hands and his mind. So not only do you have to give Makar, who is a defenseman, who technically in most cases take longer to mature than offensemen, you got to give Makar the benefit of the doubt. Not like you said it also. Makar did not play a bad game. He had a really very, 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 very costly mistake in a time of the game where we can't afford that. And obviously, I would agree with you, Marshall. I think Cale Makar's mistake kind of cost us, a tie or a win in this game. They're sending it to overtime. We could still be down there watching it right now if that goal doesn't happen. Um, but to me, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Like, he's a rookie. He is still learning. And, if he didn't come out last year and do all this crazy shit and then come out in his rookie season this year and do all this crazy shit, we wouldn't have these crazy expectations out of a rookie. And
Yeah, I agree, Zach. But then at the same time, you break up Nathan McKinnon's like rookie and even his following 3 years.
right, and it's,
He made the playoffs his first year as a rookie, and
Well,
the
I guess you could
following
say so
years
did
after
McCarr.
that. Yes, that's my point. But
Okay.
the Avalanche, I mean, I guess they did have some expectations going into that first year, especially taking the Central Division in 2014.
I mean, we
I
all
don't think
knew
anybody
that was
thought
a
the Avs
fluky
were a Stanley
team
Cup
that year.
contender that year. Yeah.
Yes, but at the same time, like McKinnon had a bunch of forwards surrounding him at that time, specifically like
O'Reilly and Stastny.
O'Reilly, Stastny, Duchesne, Landy. This team, the defense is relying on Cale Makar right now, and he is the sole number one defenseman. It's not even an argue right now amongst Avs Nation, who is the number one defenseman in Colorado right now. And Zach, you read a tweet by me or to me earlier. It's like this, and whether or not I agree with it, this Kerfoot Barry trade is looking a little bit silly right now. And yes, that's probably far-fetched, but at the same time, if you're like a legitimate Stanley Cup contender relying on a rookie defenseman to be like your backbone of the defense, I feel like there's some sort of problem there. And it's because of the fact that he makes these mistakes.
Look,
Cale Makar is doing fine.
young players are mistake-prone.
I wouldn't say Makar is like legitimately the backbone of the Avs D.
The Avs right now are a defense by committee. Yes, Makar is the leading man.
Yeah.
But this is not an Alex Pietrangelo situation where he is just that D is relying heavily on him to be the guy. He will be that guy. And look, Makar made a big mistake in this game. Besides that, he played a great game. It is not time to sell your stock on Cale Makar. It is
no,
upsetting
that's not what I'm
that he gave
saying
up a
here.
bad
I'm
goal.
saying
And that's really the extent of it.
Yes, very upsetting.
I'm saying it's time to sell your stock on the fucking Avs this year because I've been saying for a long time defense wins championships, and the fact that your number one defenseman is a rookie who dude, he is the backbone of this defense, Zach. You might disagree with that, but like not really in terms of leadership, but in terms of like on ice play, Cale Makar is head and shoulders above the next best defenseman on the Avalanche.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
And that's kind of where it's like we talk it like we kind of give him like props on, oh yeah, he's like pretty good on the defensive side of the puck.
He is.
Yeah, but he's like pretty good in terms of rookies, dude.
I would agree. I'd still say that he's probably better defensively than Quinn Hughes. Like, he's still a rookie.
If you look at the underlying numbers, and that is absolutely
it depends on which underlying numbers you look at. You can make a case for either. I tend to lean Quinn Hughes on the defensive side of the puck, but lean fairly heavily towards Makar on the offensive side of the puck. But realistically, yes, this isn't a death sentence for the Avs, but it is about as close as they come.
This game was a death sentence.
If they win another game, that's a death sentence. By definition, the Avalanche are still in the series. It's not unheard of for a comeback.
Right.
No, it will not be easy. Do I think the Avs will win? No. But am I writing them off already?
Based on odds, I think
not quite. It's very unlikely. That is the best way to put it. But we still have a few games. We're watching the Nuggets right after this podcast. They're going now. They just forced a Game 6. Once you force a Game 6, you can force a Game 7. It's going to take drastic steps by the Avalanche. They're going to need to figure something out because the way they came out to play today is not going to get it done. If they come out and play their best hockey for 3 straight games, they might have a chance. If they do anything short of that, the series is over.
Right.
Yes, but Billy, I would agree that obviously it's not over. But I was telling Zach, I like a 2-0 series a lot better than a 3-1 series.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. I mean, 2-0. You still have a little bit of give. You don't have give with a 3-1 series. The Stars now have 3 chances to win one game, and I
Mhm.
I don't care what NHL team you're playing. Give them 3 chances to win one game, and more often than not, they're going to do it. We could be playing the Detroit Red Wings in this series, and if you go
Yep.
down 3-1, it's
Very true.
not going to be very easy to come back.
Nope. Another thing, another reason I'm wearing these sunglasses is, typically in college classes, if you're wearing sunglasses, it's a lot easier to pretend like you're falling asleep. And the beginning of the game, Mikko Rantanen had an interview in which he was saying that the Avs fell asleep for like 5 minutes at a time. And the first period, literally the entire first period, they were asleep. So
Mhm.
you wouldn't even know right now if I'm asleep or not, even though I'm talking. But
Look, yeah, the
whatever.
Yeah,
Avs just
it
the
was.
streakiness in games. You not necessarily super streaky between games, although this has been a real bad losing streak. It's the streakiness during the game of the 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off that has killed them. It's you can outplay a
Right.
team for 50 minutes, but if you give up 10 minutes of being god awful, you're not going to win the game because
That was the
they're
difference in
going to
game two right
capitalize.
there.
And credit to the Stars where it's due because every time the Avs have made a dumb mistake, the Stars haven't. They have capitalized on all of them. They haven't. They haven't
Yep.
been they haven't choked on anything. If the when the Avs are giving them breakaways, they're putting those breakaways in the net. When the Avs hand them pucks in front of the net, they're doing what it takes to tap it in, whether it's a difficult one or an easy one. Almost every single time the Avs make a mistake, you can count on the Stars to put it in this series. So
Yeah.
that's just how it's gone.
All right, I got a question for you guys. So obviously, out of nowhere, the Stars have had high flying offense all series, and if you're the Avs, what do you do in Game 5 to stop that?
You gotta lock something
Honestly,
down.
in my opinion, I don't even think it's more of like the Stars having high flying offense. I think it's the
You
Avs
think
mistakes that
the Avs playing really
I think it's
bad?
a
I mean, that's
combo.
also it could be as
team
well.
defense, team
Hmm.
defense. I think that's the
Goaltending.
problem.
Goaltending as well.
Like really, yes. I don't. The Stars have not been like an absolutely offensive juggernaut. I would think that the Avs in this series have been the offensive juggernaut over the course of the entire series. But at the same time, the Stars are playing their game. The Avalanche are not. And that's the difference to me in this series right now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Hmm.
I mean, if you look at a lot of the goals that have gone in, you're talking about Blake Como and Rupe Hintz taking shots from the points. It's not like
Right.
there's nothing going on. Part of it is we need to clear those screens because our goalies are getting screened, which is why Blake Como can score from the blue line. And the other part of it is just that our goalies need to step up. Francouz has not had a good series. He hasn't had a good. I mean, he played great in the round robin, and that's about it. And really, he took like 15 shots in that game. So, I'm not gonna say he was great, I guess, but
Yeah.
he has
He
been
was
awful. And I mean, I think we were all the three of us as a whole were kind of on the same page that even going into these playoffs that Frankie is a great backup and probably not a legitimate NHL starter. I don't think there's really much debate about that anymore. I love having Frankie in Colorado. He's one of the better backups around town, and he's on a great contract. So you gotta love that. But if you want to talk
Kudobin's a
about,
better
if you
backup.
want, yeah, but I mean, are there many backups that are better than Hudobin?
No,
If you want to
that's the
talk about
thing
death
though.
sentences, the one the Avs got was when Grubauer went down.
Yeah.
But dude, at the same time, it's like even in the regular season, it was kind of neck and neck between the two goaltenders. And going into the playoffs on our recent podcast, it was like, oh, like there was some sort of discussion on whether or not we should be starting like Grubauer or Frankie. But I mean, most of us and the entire Avs nation, the coaching staff was like, still like, oh yeah, we're going to be starting Grubauer.
Look, there's some
But
sort
there
of
was that
discussion.
conversation. Yes, there was that conversation, and that conversation was to be had. And that kind of is bringing me to like, how much faith do we even have in Grubauer moving forward?
I mean,
Especially
some.
because of the fact that he can't fucking stay healthy.
I mean, Grubauer was great in the playoffs, and historically, in an Avs jersey, has been great in the playoffs. And if it were just based on his play, then absolutely, I'd be sold on Grubauer at least for another year because I think that I think Grubauer can win a Stanley Cup. The problem with that is, like you said, Marshall, the injuries, because we're having a very different conversation right now if Grubauer is still healthy. Maybe we win game 2. Maybe we win game 4. We probably win one of them, but I don't know. It's impossible to say without it. You really do have to start looking at what your options are in the offseason because even if you can get a minimal upgrade on Grubauer, but it's a guy that can stay healthy. I mean, we're talking Matt Murray, Freddie Anderson, guys that might become available in the offseason. You have to do your due diligence because this is a cup contending team, and the biggest reason that they likely go home after round 2 is because they didn't get the goaltending that they needed.
Yep, there has not been a single game in this series. Well, I mean, there's only been one game that the Avs have won so far, so that's kind of hard to say. But there has not been a single game in the series in which the Avalanche goaltenders have given them a legitimate chance to steal a game.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. We've played 4 games, and not to say that Hudobin has been incredible by any means, but he's been the better goalie, and I'd say every single one of them, except maybe the one the Avs won.
Easily.
And even that one was close.
Yeah. That one was pretty freaking close. I mean,
that was just
dude,
bad
Frankie did everything
on both sides.
Frankie did everything he could to get the Stars back in that game, which is not something you want to hear. But at the same time, we might be being a little bit hard on Frankie because although he is 29 years old, he is still a first-year NHL goaltender. Mm-hmm. And so this is a very tough situation for him to be thrown into. Second round, in which he barely played in the first round. Like second round and even moving forward, like the team looked to Frankie really to move on to like a cup run or to carry them to a cup run. So that's a very hard situation to kind of gather yourself. It's just, I don't know. That's a very difficult situation for a goaltender to be thrown into, and especially the fact that like we don't know what Grubauer's his injury is, but in all likelihood, Frankie was the guy that the Avs turned to like moving forward. And at the same time, like looking to next year, Frankie could be a lot better in the playoffs if the tables turned to him to carry us to that promise.
I don't know. I agree that it's a tough situation, but goaltenders above any other player, goaltenders have to have that cool head because you can't ride the ups and downs. You can't be caught in the moment as a goaltender. And yeah, maybe he picks it up a little bit next year, but there's not a chance in hell that I'm putting all my eggs in the Francouz basket. I'm not writing him as a starter by any means anytime soon.
No. That's not at all what I'm saying, but I'm saying that like if I would like to think that if Frankie is our backup going into next year's playoffs and God forbid something happens to our starter, I would feel at least a little bit more confident. Like myself, I know Avs Nation wouldn't because of the way that we've seen Francouz play in this playoffs, in this series. But myself, I would feel a little bit more confident if we had to rely on Frankie going into next year's playoffs.
I feel like that's fair. I feel like I'd probably feel about how I felt this year, which was, all right, let's sit here and pray now because I don't know what to expect. And that was, right. I think that's probably how I'd feel again. But it's a tough situation right now. And hey, we got another game at least. Let's see the Avs pull that one out. Let's hope that they spark some kind of life, show us a pulse in this series. But it's impossible.
The 3-2 series is
right
now. No, it's very impossible.
3-2 is better than 3-1.
Are we going? Yep, and 3-3 is a lot better than 3-1 too. So
yep. Win one game, you're in position to force a game 7, and that's kind of what we're standing at. Both Colorado teams ended up going down 3-1. Imagine if both of them are able to come back. That'd be quite the story.
Yeah. But I do got a question for you guys real quick, though. And this might be slightly out of line since we don't know what's going on with Grubauer, but here's some notable UFAs coming out of 2020 goaltending-wise. We got Holtby, Crawford, Robin Leonard, and probably my favorite, but probably is not going to happen, Jacob Markstrom.
Robin Leonard.
I don't know if you
That
guys can
one's
see,
I'd take Leonard
see
or
any
Markstrom.
fits there with any of those guys.
I think you got to look at Leonard and Markstrom. I have a feeling Leonard maybe resigns in Vegas. Markstrom, I'd be surprised to see
Markstrom's getting
I
resigned.
think they both
Markstrom's
get
a lock for
resigned.
sure. No way Markstrom's moving.
If either of them hits the
Markstrom-
If anybody on that list comes, I think it's Holtby, and I don't know
I
how
would
I'd
agree
feel
with
I do
about
not
that.
want Holtby.
I would agree.
I don't want him.
I don't want him either, Billy, but I think out of any of those names that Zach just listed, I think Holtby's the likeliest
Yeah.
to come to Colorado.
Okay, that's fair. I think because I think the two better ones both get re-signed. I don't think any of them come to Colorado. I don't think it's likely at all
No.
because I think you're taking Grubauer over any of those guys, or over either of any of them other than the two that we know are probably getting re-signed. So I doubt it, but you never know what could happen. I think if we do make a move at the goaltending position, it'll be via trade.
I agree with that for sure. And I mean, honestly, it would be absolutely in the Avs' interest to at least explore what the cost of John Gibson is.
Yeah, I would love that personally, but
High price.
It's one of those like it's my dream trade. Like it's a fantasy trade though, you know. It's they'll look, and then when the Ducks say that it's 3 first-round picks and prospects, then we say, okay, well we looked.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point. I do still think it's at least worth exploring because the Ducks are not exactly in the best position ever, and if they can start, continuing to pile on prospects, maybe even trade like a Justus Annunen,
Yeah,
like a really highly touted goalie prospect,
maybe a guy that's more
maybe
in
that
their
would
window.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and John Gibson is right in our window. So, and a John Gibson on the Avalanche, look out, dude. Especially a Matt. I mean, I'm getting way, way far ahead of myself right now. But if we can make a move for John Gibson and then somehow like sign a big free agent like a Taylor Hall type guy.
John Gibson has the
and
contract that makes it doable, but like we're back into the realm of building dream teams, which I love, but it's not exactly likely. If we're talking realistic options to trade for, I think the biggest one is Matt Murray, followed by Freddie Anderson. And Matt Murray scares me a little bit because the consistency. I'm just not even sure if he's better than Grubauer. So
yeah,
Freddie
but he has won 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Yeah, Freddie Anderson's definitely my hope. Mostly because his price tag is going to be a lot lower than
I mean,
John Gibson.
Toronto just has to get people out of there right now. They got to make moves. As frustrating as this playoff, like this entire playoff structure or couple of weeks has been for us, going down 3-1, it's been a lot worse for Toronto fans. So we're doing better than they are, and they've got that cap crunch. They're going to have to make moves. There is going to be a different look Toronto roster. The obvious ones will still be there. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares are safe. There's no one else on Toronto's roster that I would say I'm 100% sure is going to be there next year.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would totally agree. Not even Nylander.
Yeah, maybe add Morgan Riley to that list, but that's about it.
Yeah, like if the right situation came to the Leafs in which Morgan Riley was added into like a really key, trade situation, then I think he would definitely be thrown into that mix. But yeah, Billy, like you said, there's 3 untouchables on Toronto. Other than that, it's like everyone else is at least up in the air. I mean, we already saw Kapanen go.
Yeah. All right, enough talking about Toronto. Let's end our misery for today. Do you guys have any
really
last
quick?
things?
Hold on, I have one more question.
Okay.
I have one last question. Is it Frankie tomorrow night?
Yes. As bad as Frankie was, I'd still take it over Hutchinson. So,
Okay. I agree. I thought I'd throw it out there because what in the hell?
Yeah, I
Dude.
don't know. So I was feeling Hutch, but I don't know what you guys. I don't know. It's time for a shakeup. We know what Frankie did for us, and not that that was necessarily the worst thing in the world, but maybe it'll energize the boys a little bit.
You think we're going to run with
I'd
Hutch
take
tomorrow, Zach?
Hunter over
I would think
Hutchinson.
so. Whoa!
I agree with that.
Holy shit!
I do not want Hutchinson
I would
in
definitely
my
do
net,
that.
so let's
Hutch literally has
hope that
NHL
happens.
experience.
Yeah, he has NHL experience and has proven that he's not all that great.
Yeah.
That is true.
Especially his NHL experience has come in the era of not high scoring, and his numbers do not back that up at all.
Yeah.
In his favor of being a high caliber NHL goaltender, or even a reputable NHL
Yeah,
goaltender.
he's like I mean, he's right where he's supposed to be. He's a third string goalie, and that's about what it is. He's great in the AHL, and if you need him for a game, you'll be all right. But if you're on Hutchinson in the playoffs, you're not where
In
you
a
want to
do
be.
or die situation,
Yeah.
especially in a do or die situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frankie's coming in the net tomorrow. I just thought I'd throw that question out there, just because of the fact. I bet a lot of Avs Nation is going to be wondering that.
Yeah,
So.
just get it out there for anyone a little bit less familiar with Hutchinson and what's going on with the situation. I would be shocked, legitimately, if the Avalanche. Actually, I wouldn't just say I'd be shocked. I'd be mad because if the Avalanche started Hutchinson, it would feel a
Yeah.
lot like throwing in the
Yeah.
towel. So
Yep.
don't expect that by
I
any
agree.
means. I would be shocked if it happened. Any last things from you guys before we head out for the day?
If the Avs do end up losing this series, it will feel a little bit less sad just because we're in a playoff bubble and we don't have Avs Nation to support the boys.
Yeah.
Because we know that Avs Nation can show up in the playoffs. So if this happens, then it will be a little bit less of a stinger than if it would happen in a normal year. I still have at least there's some faith that I'm holding on to, but it's not looking too great. But
Holding on to that little bit of hope.
just keep on believing, Avs.
Hey boys, Avs
Keep
are
on believing,
undefeated
Avs
at Pepsi
believers.
Center. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to everyone for watching. Looks like we still got a couple in that live chat. So go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Do whatever your platform allows you to do to help us